Hello and welcome to the informative. Before I begin this video, I would like to point out that I am no way a doctor. I am not a pediatrician, but all that I am a mother of a child who's almost 5, a child who was born with eczema, and I'm going to be sharing the products that I've used that have worked for us, I'm going to be sharing with you the products that have really worked for us, that have been helpful. I have seen a change with with my daughter's skin, and yeah. What is in front of us today are survival products that I use for my 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old who has eczema. Eczema is a skin condition that babies are born with. It can go up to their teenagehood, but most doctors or pediatricians say that it goes away when the kids turn 5. But when I was in high school, I had a friend who had it when she was in high school. So that means it can go even into adulthood. So yeah, I'll be diving in on the products that I use until to date. Things that make her sleep well at night, things that make her skin less itchy and bearable to live with. So we're going to dive right into it. This is Epimax, and this is a necessity. This, I started using it on my baby when she was small, and we continue to use it up to date. This is a very expensive product, but the kids need it, and we just have to buy for them. If you have an insurance, the insurance companies that cover for this. So if your insurance company covers for this, well and good. If it doesn't, this is a necessity that your child needs. So Epimax, I apply it on her skin every day. The way you use your skin lotion or whatever products that you use to oil yourself once you've showered, I use it every day on her skin. And I apply it in the morning, and because my daughter is going to school, I usually apply it twice. In the evening when she's showering, and in the morning before she goes to school. I ensure that I have applied it on the entire body, on her entire body. But on her face, because my daughter's eczema it doesn't flare up on the face, so I usually use a remix on her face. One thing I'd like to note is that when you have a child with eczema, you are advised to not use products that are perfumed, be it soap that you use to clean their clothes, be it soap that you use to wash them. So yeah, please avoid products that are perfumed. It will not do your child any good. You might love that good smell in your house, but if your child is allergic to the smell, if your child has eczema, when you use strong scented products in the house, then your children will not be comfortable. So yeah, so now I don't have the box of the soap that I use, but I have it here on her soap dish. So yeah, I normally use the Dove with the blue. When you're buying Dove, there's a box that is written Dove Original. It has a blue marking on the box. That is the Dove that I use on her skin to shower. I don't use nothing else to wash her skin. But when my daughter was small, I used to wash her with Oiletam soap that is recommended by doctors, but it proved to be very expensive, and I stopped buying it. So that's why I started using the Dove. Yeah, if you can afford Oiletam, it's the best, but the Dove soap does the job too. If you can't afford Dove, buy is it no, not Ushindi, Sunlight, the yellow Sunlight, I'm not sure. But don't use Kipande on your children's skin. It is rough on their skin, it will be rough on them. It would even, Kipande dries your skin. You can imagine you already have a dry condition in your skin and you're being washed with Kipande. Please don't use Kipande. I'd rather you use just warm water to wash your child without anything, because it will worsen the situation. And if neither of those works for you, you can also talk to your pediatrician, and they'll advise according to your financial situation. And another thing I noticed with my daughter, my mom stays in a place that has salty water. There's a time she went there, and by the time my daughter was coming back, her skin had black patches. Even when I'm saying her face never gets those kind of reactions, but when she went there, because of the salty water. So if you're living in an area that has salty water and you're not understanding why your child's skin condition is not improving, it could be the salty water. So please try and avoid washing your child with salty water as much as you can. If you're in an area that you can't avoid, you can find a way of treating the water to be less salty, because I have seen my daughter suffer because of the flare up. So salty water can cause a flare up. So try so that you can be able to sleep at night well, your child can be able to sleep well at night. So yeah, these are the ones that I use to oil her skin. So this pseudo cream, I have a story. There's a time my daughter was admitted in hospital. So the way the doctors usually come at night to check on the patients, he found me, I was cleaning my baby, and normally my baby she gets flare-ups in between her legs, basically all the places that children fold their necks, their hands, in between their legs, behind the knee. Those are the major areas that kids tend to get flare-ups because of the sweat and the heat. That's what I'm talking about here. Heat makes the eczema to flare up. So when I was cleaning my baby, the doctor, she was female actually, she walked in and she was like, what is that? It was between her legs. She would get the flare up so bad, the rashes would be so big and pink and itchy. Sometimes they would even blood would come out. So yeah, she was like, what do you use to apply on that? I told her I usually use Epimax. I only use Epimax to apply on those places when the flare up comes out, or sometimes I use Elocom. But you see, Elocom you're given when the flare up is so bad, but you're not supposed to use it more than 5 days because it has mercury. And you can imagine a child who has eczema, that is something that is for a long period of time. So it's not even advisable to use this kind of thing on a daily. So she told me, yeah, now you see, that is very uncomfortable for a baby. I'm going to prescribe something that you can use on a daily and it will help you out with the flare up. God bless that pediatrician, because she introduced me to pseudo cream. I didn't know about pseudo cream. She introduced me to pseudo cream. Pseudo cream is not harmful, because this one, Elcom, you cannot use it on a daily. This one, I can use it on a daily without my child having any effects. And you see, it's not just for the flare up. First of all, it clears the flare up within 3 days when you apply it 3 times a day. Morning, 3 times a day, yeah. If you apply it 3 times a day, the flare up will go within 3 days. And you can also use it for nappy rash. It's written here, eczema, surface wound, when you get burnt, even sunburn. When I travel to the coast, I usually come back with a lot of sunburns, and I'm telling you, this is what I use. This is what I use to clear up my sunburns. Yeah, so this, if you can get this cream to apply, especially on a child that has flare-ups all the time. You see, the reason as to why I apply this Epimax is because when a child has eczema, their skin is dry. So this is a moisturizer to ensure that their skin is oiled up all the time. But now this, I can use it on a daily when my child has a flare-up, because sometimes the flare-up can happen. It can happen on her neck, it can happen in between her legs. When she was small, she used to have flare-ups on here, on the armpits. Can you imagine? She used to have flare-ups on the armpits. So this is a very good prescription, unlike this one, I have to emphasize, because this I was told by a pediatrician, they give to the kids to make their life bearable. It's just to make their life bearable, but it doesn't mean it's the best. This one, you can use it daily. So before I continue, I like to point out also, everything that I am using here, I did not decide it on my own. I have a child who's 4 years. We have dealt with eczema for 4 years. Everything on this yellow tray of mine, was prescribed by a pediatrician, So yeah, I wouldn't come here and start telling you guys things that were never prescribed by a pediatrician. Another very important tube. Actually, there are things I'd like to also point out. There are things that I always have. This I'm given for cases of emergency, but the things that I always have, it's the pseudo cream. I'm going to tell you the name. This is called Travocot. I have this here. The Epimax I have. Pseudo cream I always have. And then this is an antihistamine. I'll go back. I'll talk about it. So this Travocot, a child that has eczema, it's all about it's just basically about dry skin and inflammation and those rashes that flare up. So this Chavicot I was given by a pediatrician. My daughter also gets butt cracks. You see here on the back, on she gets on the butt crack, she gets a crack, like something that even bleeds. So whenever that crack comes out, I always give her twice a day for 5 days. This I always have, even when I go to her with her to the hospital. When it's almost finished, I always tell the doctor my travel cut is almost finished. So yeah, and when the crack happens, although I don't use this on a daily, within 5 days the crack is gone. You're not also advised to have this to apply on your child on a daily, but in 5 days the crack, and the crack is it's painful. You can see, if you're a parent and you have a child with eczema, you know how the situations looks like. So when mine gets a crack on her butt, it looks really bad and it's painful, and I can tell, and you can even see somehow blood is kind of trying to come out. So Travacot. I don't know if you can see it, but it's Travacot. This I always have in my house. I want to finish with the skin ones, and this coconut oil. I was advised, because coconut oil is not strong scented, to always apply coconut oil on her skin. This is what I apply on her scalp, on her hair. This saline nasal spray. A child with eczema always has blockages at night. Children with eczema, they're allergic to a lot of things, and actually this is a form that I was given by a doctor. We recently had an allergic test. There's a time my daughter was not sleeping at night. Actually, it was a period of 3 months. I'll just go to the hospital. I tell them my child has been sneezing at night, or she just wakes up, blows her nose, nothing is coming out of her nose, and she's just having trouble sleeping. And because I noticed we had been going to the hospital so many times, I just told the pediatrician, I don't understand why we keep on coming here, and the situation doesn't seem to ease up. Sometimes she's blowing, something is coming out of her nose. It was really disturbing. She couldn't get quality sleep at night. So we were referred to an allergist. And when we went to the allergist, I would like to also point out that this test is very expensive. I don't understand why, but it's very expensive. So yeah, when you see the allergist, the skin of the child. I'm going to put a picture of what was done on her hand. So the hands of the child is divided into 10 parts on each hand, and the allergens are introduced on her skin, different his or her skin. The allergens are introduced, and the allergist pricks the skin of your child to determine what the child is allergic to. Because I remember when I was sharing with the pediatrician before we were referred to the allergist, he told me that kids that have children that have eczema, they're allergic to so many things, and it's important as a parent for you to find out what could be causing your child. Because if your child is sleeping at night and they are rubbing their eyes consistently, they are constantly blowing their nose and nothing is coming out, then it means it's an allergic reaction, and you need to find out what your child is allergic to. So the allergens that were introduced on her skin were beef, pork, chicken, cod, mussel, crab, peanut, sesame, wheat, egg white, cow's milk, and then there was also mold. There was grass, dust, termites. Remember, she wrote it somewhere here: dust, termites, peanuts, and cats. So my child was found out to be, when the allergens are introduced after some minutes, after 15 minutes actually, you can see the reaction on the skin. So anything that your child is allergic to, the allergist will be able to see it on their skin and advise you accordingly. So yeah, I found out that my child is allergic to several things that I'm dealing with in the house. I didn't know there were dust mites. that people can be allergic. There are things in the air, in the dust, that go to the air, and your children could be allergic to them. And these things normally settle on carpets, on curtains, sometimes even beddings, you know, pollen. That there are children who are allergic to pollen. So if you are able to go and see an allergist once you have established your child has eczema, the better for you, so that you can be able to know in advance, what does my child react to. Because if your child is allergic to dust mites, then you'll be able to clean, you know, you have to clean the carpets. The allergist was even telling me sometimes it's not even, it doesn't mean that you're really dirty, it's just dust that comes in your house and your child is really allergic to. So you sometimes you'll be advised to get rid of carpets, you know, those things that will be able to collect those things. If it's pollen, if you're living next to an area that has pollen, if the child is very young, because sometimes people say expose them to those things as much that their bodies could get used to it. But I wouldn't advise for you to do that to a very small child. Why would you make them go through that kind of thing? And you can just avoid until maybe they are 5 and then start to introduce them to those things. If it's something that eggs, like mine, when she was very small, I wouldn't give her eggs. But when she reached around 2 years, I'd give her one. Even to date, I usually give her 2 eggs a week. One on Saturday, the other maybe on Wednesday. Yeah, I cannot go past 2 eggs because it's painful to see your child suffering, scratching themselves, and that is something that they're allergic to. Yeah, so now I'm going to talk about the products, the medications that I was given. So because a child with eczema will always have allergic reactions, when you see they're having maybe that blockage on the nose, it's always advisable to use a saline nasal spray. Saline is just salt that has been mixed with water and something like that, so it will never be very bad for them. So you can always use this, but please talk to a doctor. This is what I use when I see she has a blockage on her nose, yeah, to clear up so that she can be able to sleep at night. The other thing I have in my house is an antihistamine. As much as I'm saying that I usually give her eggs twice a week, there are things that happen, and before I went to the allergist, there are things I didn't know that my child was reacting to. So whenever I would see I've given her something, or if I notice an inflammation, those big lumps of rash, as you know, rashes are small, but for an allergic reaction, rash is usually big. They look like lumps like this. There's a time my daughter was next to a cat. Actually, the allergist confirmed. She went and played with that cat. My daughter was the whole around the whole eyes, both eyes. She had inflammations like this. She looked really bad, and she was rubbing. She was constantly rubbing her face, and I gave her 5 ml. I gave her 5 ml of this. When you go to the hospital, most of the times you are given, if they're taking the antihistamine for long, you're advised to give her 2.5. But if the reaction is really severe and you can see it on their face, for me, I gave her 5 ml, and the rashes, the inflammation cleared up after like 30 minutes. It went away. I use a medicated shampoo to wash her head because at the time she had a very bad flare up that couldn't go away. So I was advised, because of eczema, again, you always, when you're given when you have a child with eczema, when you go to the hospital and you're given the prescribed medication, you're like, because of eczema, you're advised to use this. So because of eczema, I was advised to be using the medicated shampoo to wash her head. Yeah. And what else am I? Ooh, we've got this big man over here, the aero chamber. Like I said, kids with eczema, they're allergic to so many things, and it will cause them to cough at night, to have consistent coughs, tend to have a lot of coughing at night, a lot of sleep disturbances. So because children are under 5, they are not advised to be given cough syrups. I was given this chamber. This time she was very young and she was consistently coughing. Again, before I identified her allergens. So yeah, I was given this chamber. Whenever my child wakes up at night and she's constantly coughing, so there's that spray that you spray here, the same medication that people with asthma are given, but this is also recommended instead of a cough syrup for a child who is below 5 years. So yeah, she inhales this. If you have a child with asthma, you know how this is used, but this is also, you can ask your pediatrician if this is right, but I was given by a very nice pediatrician and she advised. So I'd like to emphasize again, eczema is a condition that babies are born with, and it's our responsibility as parents to make their life as comfortable as we can afford. These things, to be honest with you, they're very expensive. As for me, most of these things, they have been covered by her medical insurance. Like this is very expensive, you know. This oil that she uses on a monthly, it's very expensive. Her showering soap is very expensive. As much as the insurance doesn't cover for everything, I try my best because it bothers me. I can't myself, if she's not sleeping well, we can't sleep in the house, you know. It interferes with the quality of sleep that you're getting. But if you have these products, if you go visit an allergen, if you're able to, then you're going to have an easier life, because you'll know. If you're in Nairobi or in Kenya and your child is suffering from severe, because I've seen babies with severe eczema, there's a clinic in town, somewhere in downtown, that has doctors that give free advice to children. So yeah, if you know of that clinic, please write it on the description. You can write it on the comments so people can see. So yeah, because children with eczema, they don't sleep well at night. Before I even knew I was supposed to see an allergen, I remember I was even sharing with people, I have never slept well with my child since she was born. We have never slept like the way you say you can sleep well the entire night, because they are always waking up at night. There's something that is always disturbing them. You know, there are children that even react to mold. So if you have mold in your house and your child is showing some reactions, you can get rid of the mold. I'll be doing a video on how to get rid of mold in your house. Yeah, there's a lady that I know, her child's eczema was really bad, and on the skin, the skin would ooze. Something would come out. I'm saying fluids will come out of her face. Sometimes the child would rub, you know, the baby is so small, so sometimes maybe the mother is sleeping and the child has woken up and the child is rubbing her face with her fingers, and the blood would come out because the eczema on the face was really, really bad. If you're a mother whose child is having that very bad eczema, I'm sending all my love to you. I know it's bad. It will affect your sleep, your quality of sleep, your baby's quality of sleep. It will affect you even mentally, emotionally. You'll be affected. I pray you find help. And I'd like to point out and emphasize that this video is not for people with really bad eczema. This is, for me, is just where I've been able to control. So if your child has really, really, really bad eczema, just go to the doctor to advise you. Yeah, but what I know, in most of those cases, if it's very bad, people are given Elocom. But just see go to the hospital and be advised accordingly. Yeah. So yeah, another thing, I just want to send my love to all the mothers out there. It's not easy to raise your child, especially it's even worse when you don't have a supportive partner. You can lack a supportive partner. You can be married and still don't have a supportive partner. So I pray, may God help you, may help you, may lead you, may guide you. Yeah, because it's not easy. Can you imagine not sleeping at night and you have to go to work, and that's your baby? You just have to wake up because that's your baby. Yeah. So yeah, I'm sending all my love to you, and please get products that will work for your baby. This is what that has worked for mine. Yeah, and I'm so sure it will work for many.